So the vehicle itself was assembled by M&H in Hanover, and it was one of the last Jagdpanthers issued to the Heereszeugamacht, that's the ordnance depot, in March of 45. It was issued then from the Heereszeugamacht to the 116th Panzer Division, and it was used in the history. You can read about the history, the breakout from the Ruhr pocket. It was one of the vehicles involved in that. How it was captured or knocked out, we don't know. We haven't found that information. But it then went to England and ended up on the ranges at Purbeck. Alongside it in Purbeck in the 70s was another Jagdpanther that had been taken out of M&H after the war by the British, and both were used as hard targets. A German collector purchased the two wrecks from a British guy that was saving wrecks from the ranges, and he brought them to Germany, but after some years decided that it was too big a job to do any restoration on it. Fortunately, Michael Gibb, who is the founder of the Weald Foundation, happened to meet this person and said, "How much do you want for them?" and purchased the two wrecks, and they were brought back to England. And this Jagdpanther is now the main restoration vehicle that people look to see how you can bring a vehicle that's totally destroyed, because the pictures of this, when you see all of the side blown away, all of the lower side of the hulls completely riddled with automatic fire weapons, everything ruined in the vehicle. But Michael brought it back, and the Weald Foundation started a restoration process that has gone on for 8 years. 90% is original. There are some panels had to be replaced because they were completely shot away, or for example this side panel over here behind the suspension, that was so badly riddled with the automatic fire and the wheels and everything were gone, that it had to be replaced from a structural rigidity point of view. So that's a brand new piece, and we were able to use original drawings that come from my collection from the factories, with the dimensions and everything, where all the holes had to be drilled and so forth. So it's a perfect copy of the original. Well, every day of the week when you're restoring, you're finding out new things. For example, there's a photograph of the late Jim. Jim was one of the very good fabricators that we had, and he was inside using his blowtorch to remove bent and broken and rusted pieces, and he was up near the gearbox and he's playing a flame on something, and suddenly he realizes over in the corner there's something starting to glow green. And as a tank man, you know that when you see something glowing green, you get out. Jim breached the English high jump record of 3 meters that day and ran. It was only a small arms round in the end, but you don't wait to ask questions under those circumstances. Yeah, well now, 2 years ago, because it was left out in the rain here, the magnetos failed, the condenser on the magneto, and we had to do a lot of work on the magnetos and get them perfect. And then there's been a lot of re-specification of the steering drive, and even tomorrow now the engineer that's driving it will be modifying and adjusting the steering to try and get it right, because at the moment it's a little bit less comfortable on the right hand side than it is on the left. And Bovington of course wants us to go that way, we want to go the other way. It'd be much nicer. All this restoration was done at the Weald. Everything, the steel work, the big heavy armor pieces, everything was done there. And Weald at this point now has about 16 running vehicles. The whole objective of the Weald is to restore vehicles to running order, fully internal and out, and with the original engines and original gearboxes, everything original. And we even have taken vehicles. We had, for example, the 250 small half-track, the Ausführung A. We had a very nice one of those, but it had no provenance. So what's been done is that has been sold to a collector, and we have now bought all the pieces for another 258, which now has to be put together from little bits. But we can do that well, we've all the knowledge and everything. But the big difference is that this one, the new one that we've got, is actually has the original markings on it from Frundsberg. So we know the provenance, we know where it was in Normandy and so forth. And the same with our 250B. We've now got a real original one from the 6th Panzer Division. Well, what we have is a membership. It's £48 sterling. At the show they're doing £40 for this first year, and for that the person can come to the open day and fully avail of all of that. They can visit the foundation on other times when there's events for members, but also every week they get 2 articles on the electronic feed on the private website. So that talks about what we've done, like the maintenance of the Jagdpanther, trying to find a new 88mm gun for the 2nd Jagdpanther that we have. You know, the fact that we found a carburetor for one of our armoured cars, all of that sort of information. History about the colouring. The university has done the investigation on the colour chips and so forth, and all of that information is in the articles.
Is it worth joining if you don't live in the UK?
Well, I think it is, because you get all that electronic feed and you can participate electronically. I mean, what I do is I participate by providing research support. So even though I'd be a German specialist doing research on the things like the Sturmgeschütz and so forth, in the last while they've got me to move over to the dark side. So I'm now an expert on Marmon Harrington armoured cars from South Africa. But that's the next project we have lined up. We're doing 2 Marmon Harrington armoured cars, Mark IIIs.
I saw a photo on the Weald Foundation Facebook page. You were changing out the transmission on this, and you had to pull the gun out.
Yeah.
This seems a little inconvenient.
No, yes. That's just the way they designed this vehicle. They knew that problem, but the Germans always had special tools. Sonderwerkzeuge, they were called. So there's a special bracket that fits on, if you happen to have the original kit, that helps you to lift that out properly. You have a very special bracket that fits in and allows the gearbox. You just undo the front of it, jack it up on this, and then slide it up along a special ramp. It all works quite well. It still is inconvenient by modern standards, but they hadn't got round to putting everything in the back in a package. So.
Panther has the reputation for unreliability. Does the Jagdpanther have the same reputation?
Well, it's the same basic vehicle. It's a lot heavier at the front. So they had to strengthen the transmission and the steering and so forth on a Jagdpanther. But if you used a Jagdpanther the way it was supposed to be used, it was only to be used as an army-controlled weapon by the higher command. It wasn't to be used in tight spaces. It wasn't to be used on small, narrow roads like they have around here with trees either side. It was meant to be protected by grenadiers or by other tanks, and it was meant to engage enemy equipment at over 2,500 meters, which in 1944-45 was an amazing range. And they were getting kills. There's even a documented kill of 4,000 meters.
Anything else you want to talk about on the outside while we're here?
On the outside, well, not really. I think we can walk around it if you like.
Alright, so let's start. Where's the Ferguson number? If I see a German tank somewhere, I want to know where it came from. Where would I look for a number? You have
to be a member of the Weald Foundation. Then you can get in and you can come down to the driver's position. You mightn't be able to make it, and on his left shoulder, punched into the thing. Now there was data plates on it, but all the troopies who found these stole the data plates as souvenirs. That happened even during the war. So you're very lucky if you find the data plate. What they did do was, for the manufacturers, but this happened maybe back in 41, they decided there's no point in having Maschinenfabrik Niedersachsen, Hanover, Latzen, and the street number on the data plate. So these guys were given a 3-letter code. And from the 3-letter code you are meant to be able to, you could look up the code book and find which tank factory it came from. And the same for the, I mean, the hull on this would have been manufactured by the Brandenburger Eisenwerk, and they had a 3-letter code. Everybody tried to keep their presence hidden towards the end of the war.